Magnificent meatball maker. Magnificent meatball maker. Focus question. What characteristics does Timmy have that will help him open his own bistro? Timmy checked his list to see what he still needed to prep. He had already peeled and minced 15 heads of garlic, cleaned and chopped 10 bunches of basil, and peeled 20 potatoes. All that was left to do was dice the roasted red peppers and make the rosemary marinade. Since Timmy's parents had divorced, he'd hung out at his Uncle Mario's Italian restaurant after school while his dad was still at work. But now Timmy prepped on Saturday afternoons like a real member of the kitchen staff. Mario's Kitchen was a casual neighborhood restaurant just 8 houses away from Timmy's dad's house. But people came from far and wide to feast on Chef Mario's food like ants swarming a picnic. The celebrity statues that chefs such as his uncle enjoyed is something Timmy coveted. He wanted to cause his own neighborhood a sensation and take the culinary world by storm. Timmy washed his hands and dried them on his apron before heading to the empty dining room for a soda break. He passed photos on the wall of famous people posing with his uncle. Actors, actresses, politicians, singers, even a president at Mario's Kitchen. On the opposite wall hung glowing articles and raving reviews from some of the city's tallest critics. Timmy never tired of hanging out here, and who better to learn to cook from than his Uncle Mario, a chef China's celebrated chef. Timmy, help me with these bags, eh? Huffed Uncle Mario, back from the farmer's market, where he purchased the freshest ingredients daily 6 blocks away. Guess who just called me to make dinner reservations tonight? Wait, I'll give you some hints. He's as tall as a door and as fast as a cheetah, and he's pitching Monday night for the Sluggers. Not Johnny McLean, shrieked 10-year-old Timmy, following his uncle back to the kitchen. The one and only, and he requested Mario's magnificent meatballs and spaghetti. So I've got to get cooking before my 4 o'clock flight to meet investors in Chicago. Uncle Mario raced to the walk-in and began snatching ingredients for his famous meatballs, beef, pork, veal, and aged Parmigiana cheese. So, Chef Timmy, Uncle Mario asked while grilling the meat, what delectable dishes did you cook at home this week? Timmy described Monday's fettuccine alla carbonara and Wednesday's kitchen cutlets before asking why Mario's magnificent meatballs and spaghetti, his uncle's signature dish, was taken off the menu. These days, his uncle made the dish only by request. Remember the lines around the block and customers squabbling for a table. My calm, charming 65-seat restaurant became disorderly, frenzied, chaotic, Brutus, downright zoo-like, chuckled his uncle. People act like caged animals fighting over the best bits of meat. But I'm whipping up a plan to add those meatballs back to the menu. Timmy returned to his purb list, briefly wondering that his signature dish would be when he opened his own bistro. He watched as Uncle Mario mixed the ground meat in a gigantic aluminum bowl. Then his uncle moved to a secluded corner counter where he added the other ingredients. Only Uncle Mario made the meatballs, and only he knew the secret species that made his dish so irresistible and so famous. He protected the recipe like a diamond. That's why Timmy was stunned when his uncle handed him the secret recipe after baking these last batch. Kiddo, I was going to entrust you with this recipe when you got older, whispered Uncle Mario. But since you're already a top-notch chef, I want you to have it now. Let's keep it our secrets, from one chef to another. Then off he went on his trip to Chicago, leaving Timmy to fill his head with the implications. Between owning the secret meatball recipe and his baseball hero coming to the restaurant, Timmy felt like a balloon about to burst. He finished his prep work at 4:40, 5:40, and was heading out the door when he was nearly knocked over by a screeching cat chased by an enormous barking dog. The cat darted under the dishwasher, but the dog lost interest in his foe after smelling the mouth-watering meatballs on the counter. The horse-like canine stood on his hind legs and devoured the meatballs like a famished shark. Not Johnny McLean's dinner, grunted the chef, who was in charge of the kitchen when Executive Chef Mario was away. "What are we going to do?" said a weary cook. While the cooks fretted, Timmy slipped into the chilly walk-in and retrieved an special recipe from his jeans pocket. With urgency, he filled the plastic bin with the necessary ingredients, grabbed the grinder, and called over his shoulder, "I'll be back in an hour with Mario's meatballs." The looks of shock didn't register, and Timmy barely heard the void of questions he left in his wake. Moreover, "Dad, I've got a meatball emergency here." Timmy set out his ingredients as his dad pulled his smoky soup off the stove at home. "Sounds serious," said his dad with a raised eyebrow. "Holler if you need me." "So that's how he gets the flavor." Timmy smiled as he mixed, then rolled the ingredients into spheres nearly as big as baseballs for baking. Back in Mario's kitchen under the watchful eyes of the sauce chef, Timmy plopped the mystery recipe meatballs into a huge pot of smearing tomato sauce for 20 minutes. The cooks anxiously watched through the tiny, circular kitchen window as Johnny McLean and his wife ate their meatballs and spaghetti. The chef exchanged high fives with Timmy when the cook oohed and ahed over their first bites. Yes, Timmy couldn't believe he just cooked for Johnny McLean and his hero liked it. Timmy forgot to ask out for an autograph that night, but the quote in Sunday morning's paper was even better. Seen around town. Last night, Johnny and Debbie McLean dined at Mario's kitchen. What did they eat? Their favorite dish, Mario's magnificent meatballs and spaghetti. Here's what Johnny had to say about his meal. "I don't know what's in those meatballs, but they taste as great as striking out the heater feels." The ringing telephone brought Timmy back down to earth. "Good news, kiddo. Mario's kitchen is expanding from 65 seats to 115 seats, and Mario's magnificent meatballs and spaghetti is going back on the menu. I'll show you the blueprints tomorrow, buddy." A huge smile crept on Timmy's face, his future bright in front of him, as he wondered aloud, "Maybe I'll be promoted to magnificent meatball maker." Baked meatball recipe. Uncle Mario's recipe is still a secret, but here's a baked meatball recipe you could try at home with the help of an adult. Prep time 20 minutes. Cook time 20 to 25 minutes. Ingredients: 2 of 1 pound ground beef, 2 of 1 pound ground pork, 2 of 1 pound ground lamb, 1 large egg, 2 of 1 cup milk, 2 of 1 cup breadcrumbs, 4 of 1 cup grated Parmesan cheese, 4 of 1 cup diced onions, 4 of 1 cup frozen spinach, thawed and drained, 1 and 2 of 1 teaspoons dried basil, 1 and 2 of 1 teaspoons dried parsley, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, 1 teaspoon salt, 2 of 1 teaspoon pepper. Ask an adult to preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. In a large mixing bowl, combine all the ingredients, mixed well using your hands. Shape the meat mixture into about 20 round balls that are about 1 to 2 inches in diameter. Place the meatballs onto a sheet ball pan lined with aluminum foil. Ask an adult to place the pan in the oven. Bake the meatballs for about 20 to 25 minutes or until they are no longer pink in the center. Enjoy with your favorite tomato sauce and pasta or in a meatball sandwich.